A Boston area biotech did not just get a second FDA rejection. It got a public lesson in what happens when a biotech tries to turn a compelling single-arm oncology signal into an approval, and FDA says, I still cannot tell what your drug actually contributed. That matters beyond one company. It matters for Boston Biotech, because this is the local version of a very expensive question. When is an early cancer signal strong enough to carry a company, a manufacturing build-out, and a regulatory strategy? The company is Replimune, pronounced Replimune. The drug is RP1, also called vuselimogene odoperavec. It is Replimune's oncolytic immunotherapy, an engineered herpes-based virus designed to be injected into tumors, kill tumor cells locally, and help trigger a broader immune response. Replimune was seeking approval for RP1 with nivolumab in advanced melanoma after prior anti-PD-1 therapy. On April 10, 2026, FDA issued a second complete response letter. A complete response letter is FDA's formal way of saying, we are not approving this application in its current form. The simple headline is, FDA rejected RP1 again. The more useful headline is, FDA found the evidence package insufficient. FDA's public CRL is unusually useful because it lays out the argument directly. The agency said the data were insufficient to conclude substantial evidence of effectiveness. For the main Phase 2 study, IGNITE, FDA focused on 3 problems. First, contribution of effect. RP1 was used with nivolumab. FDA said the study was not designed to isolate what RP1 added versus what nivolumab, patient selection, or other factors might explain. Second, heterogeneity. Patients with advanced melanoma after immunotherapy are not one uniform group. Prior therapies, disease setting, timing, lesion patterns, and baseline disease can all change how response rates should be interpreted. Third, response assessment. FDA raised concerns about injected lesions, non-injected lesions, retreatment, biopsies, surgery, and whether some measured responses could be confounded by local interventions rather than systemic anti-tumor effect. That is the core of the FDA case, not RP1 definitely does not work. More like, this dataset does not let us reliably conclude how much it works, or why. Replimune strongly disagrees. The company says IGNITE showed a 34% response rate, a median duration of response of 24.8 months, and a favorable safety profile. It argues the FDA process was inconsistent, that FDA did not object to submission while repeatedly warning the single-arm design might be insufficient, and that the company provided analyses addressing FDA's concerns. Replimune also says the human cost is real. CEO Sushil Patel said timely accelerated approval was needed for RP1 to remain viable. After the rejection, local reports said the company cut more than 200 jobs across Woburn and Framingham, including a scale-back of U.S. manufacturing operations. So the tension is not company good, FDA bad, or FDA good, company bad. The tension is this: oncology drug development often needs speed, but speed does not erase the need for interpretable evidence. This is a Boston Biotech story for 3 reasons. First, it is local. Replimune is in Woburn and the manufacturing footprint touched Framingham. A regulatory letter turned into real job losses in the local ecosystem. Second, it hits a common Boston playbook. Build a platform, find a high-need oncology niche, use strong early data to pursue accelerated approval, and raise or spend around that regulatory path. Third, it shows how one evidence dispute can hit more than a stock price. It can change hiring plans, burn rate assumptions, manufacturing strategy, partnership leverage, and the local risk appetite around the next oncology platform company. That is the practical point. FDA flexibility is not the same as FDA certainty. Breakthrough designation, priority review, accepted resubmission, expert support, and a serious unmet need can all be real and still not guarantee approval. Here's my take. Accelerated approval is a bargain, not a shortcut. The bargain is, patients may get earlier access when the disease is serious, the need is high, and the evidence is persuasive enough. But the sponsor has to make the uncertainty legible. If the package is single-arm, the trial has to do extra work. So here's the checklist I would use the next time a Boston oncology company says it has a fast approval path. 1. Can the trial isolate the drug's contribution, especially if the product is used in a combination? 2. Is the patient population narrow enough that a response rate is interpretable? 3. Are the response assessments clean, especially if the treatment is injected locally, tumors are biopsied, or lesions are surgically removed? 4. Is the confirmatory trial not just started, but actually capable of resolving the main uncertainty? 5. Does the company have enough runway if FDA says, come back with randomized data? That is the behavior change. Do not evaluate these stories only by the headline response rate. Evaluate the regulatory argument underneath the response rate. A few things we should not overclaim. We should not say RP1 failed clinically. FDA did not say that in a simple binary way. We should not say FDA proved the drug has no benefit. That is stronger than the letter supports. We should not pretend Replimune's objections are irrelevant. Patient need, investigator support, and the feasibility of randomized trials matter. But we also should not reduce this to regulators killed innovation. That is a satisfying line, but it skips the hard part. If the agency can't separate drug effect from trial design noise, approval becomes a much bigger leap. Here's the watch next list. First, IGNITE-3, the randomized phase 3 trial of RP1 plus nivolumab versus physician's choice. FDA's letter points back toward adequate and well-controlled evidence, and even discusses whether the ongoing trial could address deficiencies with revised designer analysis. Second, whether Replimune gets a productive Type A meeting, appeal path, or revised protocol alignment. Third, financing runway. If the confirmatory path is longer, the scientific question becomes a capital allocation question very quickly. Fourth, the manufacturing footprint. The local story is not abstract when a Framingham operation gets scaled back. Fifth, other Boston Oncology platforms using accelerated approval logic, not because Replimune predicts their fate, but because it shows what reviewers may pressure test. For Boston Biotech, the lesson is sharper. Before you build the company around a regulatory shortcut, ask whether your evidence can survive the most skeptical version of the FDA review. Because in this case, the answer from FDA was no, twice.
And the cost was not just a stock chart. It was a local manufacturing scale back, hundreds of jobs, and a reminder that in oncology, a promising signal is only the beginning of the argument.